Welcome to FoodKast. I'm your host, Rick, and today we're going to talk about why chefs are so moody. Well, the idea about this episode is not about the mood per se, it's about consistency. But to understand consistency, you have to understand who produced the food, aka the chef, and how affects the food. And we all know your mood affects the quality of your cooking. Because of that came the question, why chefs are so moody. I came to 4 points that affect the mood in the food, let's say, or like in the lifestyle. Is all based around the kitchen lifestyle. Number one, what I see is the routine. Our lifestyle is very different than other kind of line of work. We don't have the Monday to Friday 9 to 5. We do have a very scattered hours and days of work. So this week, let's say I work Friday to Wednesday. Next week, you're gonna work Tuesday to Sunday, and sometimes you have split days off. So that's very difficult to create a routine, and as well the hours depend the kind of business you're working. If you're in a hotel or even restaurants, you could have like the AM shift today, tomorrow the PM shift, and follow the AM shift again. So it's very difficult to try to get a lifestyle around that. And as well, the time you finish the day, like if you're Friday, let's say like that, or the last day of work, and you manage to get 2 days off together, is a Tuesday, you finish 11 p.m. When you work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, 5 o'clock you finish, you can go to a cinema, go to a pub, like you can have a social life a later, let's say, after work. And then Saturday and Sunday, you relax and you still can do whatever you want. For us, no, we finish 11, 12 p.m. And by the time you go to bed, it's 1 in the morning. Is not much of a break on that. And normally you wake up in the middle of the morning, mid of the day, some people, and go to work. So that affects a lot in your mood. When you're young, I have to say, it was easier to do that, and it was fun because everyone was in the same boat. Finish the shift, we go to a late pub or go to drink somebody's home, and at least you have a little bit of social life. Was fun. But I have to say that affect a lot in your mood. If you're doing that for 2-3 weeks, you start to feel a little bit more tired mentally. The second point is your diet. Nobody think about that, but your diet is very important. We are chefs, and majority of us, we don't have like a routine to eat. I don't. And like sometimes I spend the day cooking for others for 12, 14 hours in a row. I get home and my wife looks at me and said, and I tell her like, "Oh, I'm starving." And she tells me like, "How come you work in the kitchen? How you're starving?" Well, I didn't have time to eat. That's how things go sometimes. Breaks. What is that? I make sure all my chefs they get some sort of break. Even if it's for eating or just smoke break, whatever. They need to free their mind a little. Not stay in the job like 12, 10, 14 hours in a row. It's very important to have that. Number 3 is already like a domino effect. Will be sleeping patterns. You don't have a sleeping pattern because today you need to wake up 6 in the morning to be in the AM shift. Tomorrow you can sleep a little bit more, but because it goes to the PM shift, and the following day you go in the AM shift. So the sleep pattern is something will affect your mood. Number 4, but not the least important. I think that's the most important. the kitchen environment. Imagine you come to work. You need to be very quick to set up your station. Make sure you have all the food. You need literally be on time. Everything to be there. And then came 12 o'clock. Now you work for the clock. Every single time an order come in, the printer will comes off. Like you start to sing there. Ta, 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 ta. Who work in the industry knows what I'm talking about. Every single time that comes out, you have, depending on what the dishes you get through that order. If it could be one person or a part of 60 people. You have a time frame to deliver that food. Could be anything between few minutes to 15 minutes. You have to deliver the food. Imagine the Saturday or Friday night where you have a full restaurant. Trust me, we don't have extra chefs in the kitchen. We just have the right amount of people to cover each station. And that gets very difficult because you have a limit. You have just 2 arms and you have X amount of hobs in front of you, fryer or whatever, the station, the equipment you need. So you have a limitation there. And you need to deliver the food on time and with the same quality over and over and over and over and over throughout 8 hours, 10 hours of service. Yeah, can be very long days in your feet with all the other things around you nobody thinks about. So to keep the consistency, you need to focus a lot because of those 4 factors that will have a great impact in the food you're getting in the restaurant. And then you go to your favorite restaurant and the food is not exactly the same you got the past few years. Could be a change of one chef or multiple chefs, consistency drop. And that's something I look and said, okay, why did that happen? Happens because of those factors I told you. And good restaurants, they have less of that on your face or in your palate reflection. So, and then come to the second part, how to minimize the effects of the mood in the food. I start to look around and I say, okay, where would see the mood not influencing in the food? And I came to fine dine and fast food, both the extremely ends of the restaurant world. So in the fine dine and the fast food, what they have in common is recipe for everything. You need to follow the recipe or you will not have a consistency. That's the bottom line. After that, you're going to have 2 different branches. In the fast food, you're going to have machinery will assist you. I will give you a quick example. You're going to have fryer. You're going to make chips. You have a machine will measure how much chips will go inside the basket. Your fryer will beep when the oil is right to put the chips in. And then your fryer will tell you when the chips are ready. And then afterwards, you have a shaker with a button will get exactly the amount of salt you should have on those fries. That's using technology and machinery to avoid issues or like to keep the consistency. Yes, that's not foolproof. Sometimes you have people who put the fryer as they wish and take it off as they wish, and you're gonna have the chips you normally would not have in your local fast food chain or your favorite fast food chain. In the fine dine, you have the recipe and you have people. A lot of them. Like you see in any fast food restaurant, you look inside, it's tons of people. The fine dine, you're going to have the same. You're going to see loads of chefs. Half of them will tell you they're not getting paid. They're doing that for work experience. And that kind of helps a little bit to take a little bit of the load from the chefs. But in the same hand, you control a little bit of the stress in a level. And the last but not the least, fine dining and fast food, we have checks for every single step. So you go to fast food restaurants, they have a manager going around and checking if the machine is working properly, if they're putting the right time in the fryer, the chips, and every single step. There's literally a checklist for everything. Oh, you did that burger in 37 seconds, should have been 25, like something like that. That to keep the consistency, the quality of the product. In fine dining, you're gonna have in each station, you're gonna have more people than actually in a normal, let's say, normal restaurant or the ordinary restaurants. As I said before, we have chefs in each station, just enough to do that job. And then when you go to fine dining, you probably have one or two. And but at the end of the day, you have like your intern with you there, and it's my job to check on them that food is coming out the standard I should send to the head chef or sous chef in the pass. And when it comes to the pass, I need to check the food and make sure the food is perfect. And it's my job in the pass to send the food to the customer. When you're in the fine dining, you have to be precise every single time. You need to just make sure the food is perfect. Number one, because it's extremely expensive. Number two, the high expectation. And number three, you're working for different goals. And that is literally make sure you're selling or making the best steak you ever had. You have a lot going on in the background. But that's the two ends of the spectrums for the food industry. 8% of our reality is between them. That's where you're gonna have your restaurants. Like your local pub or your local steakhouse or any kind of restaurant. They don't have a chain. They just have one there. And then they're highly dependent of the people who work for them. So that's the moment we see the mood applying the food. And the way to reduce that with the past years and experience I start to get throughout the years, I notice recipe is the base. You have to have a recipe. Sometimes people do that over and over and over, like you can do with your eyes closed. I see even today, people need to follow the recipe, doesn't matter what. Because if tomorrow, God forbid, I break my leg, the guys back in my restaurant will need to do exactly the same as I do. And I don't expect less. That get a little bit of the stress of, okay, what I need to do. You have a list in front of you. Number two would be the equipment. Make sure there's the suitable equipment for those who will be producing the food. If you have that boxed off, it's easier as well. Number three is checks. How you do the checks in a normal restaurant, small family restaurant, you're probably asking me. You get and create a list. The checks you need to go. Once a day or twice a day or even 3 times a day as I like, with different members of staff and random products, you go and make one of those dishes daily. So don't need to be the head chef or sous chef, whatever. You can ask for the manager, ask for just send a ticket in some stage of the day, randomly, and then just eat and see consistency and make the checks. And you say, "Oh, come on, get over. Don't need to do that." You see, yeah, but we can't get in a loop, and then we stop to see it, and then we start to asking why that customer didn't come back, why our numbers are dropping. Do we need to change the menu? That's something I normally look and say, yes, we need to change the menu seasonally. In my opinion, every 4 months you change the menu. There are a few places just twice a year. So you can get bored and you can get in habits that will influence the food and the taste and the flavors. And well, there's a lot we can do to make the mood of the chefs improve, and the quality of the food we have in our local restaurant will improve as well. I'm not asking you guys to have a little bit more understanding when you get something is not what you expect. But in a hand, yes, to see you guys understand what's going on in the back there. What we can do to improve that, I think there is the hours we work, get more consistency with that, and think about the mind space of the chefs. Introducing systems will make them less stressed. There are other issues there as well we can talk about in other episodes, but now give you idea why why chefs they're so moody with all that stress points, let's say, we got for the consistency of the food. There are other factors, of course, will be in the mood of the chef. Every single person is different. They have their own issues. With all that in mind, give you a glimpse what's going on in the chef's mind, and as well give you a little of why they're moody. That's a base. Loads of us could say, oh, that's bull, that's not truth. But yes, that gets in the base. That's the base of the moody chefs. And they're more behind to make somebody get very moody. And the idea saying about the mood and the consistency is something work hand by hand. They're moody chefs, they make their lives being moody and get successful. But it's not for everyone. It's not everyone happens that. That's less than 1%. Try to be moody all the time, nobody works for you. You know, you need to be a genius, and people really want to literally suck it up, the abuse, to be working for somebody moody. It's very difficult to succeed being moody. So consistency, that's the formula to find consistency in your business. If you have your own restaurant, please leave a comment. Send a message in the social media there for me. And I would love to hear from you guys. Your opinion on that. And with that being said, thanks for listening. FoodKast.